All right. Well, we wanted to kind of go back into the Q&As.
You're on the podcast with
Dino and Ashley.
I love so much interrupting you while you're doing something and just dropping it in. It's like my favorite thing because it throws you off so much. You're
good at that. We're pretty good at bipping and bopping.
Bipping and bopping?
Is that the word?
No.
Banging and banging?
Yeah, we're good at banging. Clanging and banging.
No, what's the bebopping?
Bebopping and scatting.
All right, we wanted to jump back into the Q&As that we had. One in particular, we actually received an email, which I love. If you guys, whenever I put a question box on Instagram, and you may not even follow us on Instagram, so email is such a great way you can communicate to us. We so appreciate the emails of encouragement. My goodness, especially I just love how God works, and we get those emails from you guys at the most needed times. It's like a little sweet gift. So just know that if he's prompting you with something, and it's not just for us, if it's for anybody else too, always listen to those things because you never know what's going on with the recipient. And so we just really appreciate those things. Anyways, we got an email.
It was actually really good because it was a bit convicting for me. Because, all right, so the
one that we're talking about, yeah. Around the word lust.
Yeah. Because I believe I was talking in general about the importance of having a passionate desire for your spouse and building that and cultivating it, right? Like that's,
I also think I said it too one time.
Yeah. But I used the word lust. And somebody called me out because they're like, hey, I go to church and I have always been taught that from a biblical perspective, the word lust was always in a negative, seen in a negative way. And I was like, all right, I already know where this is generally going. I was not necessarily using the word correctly. So I'll fully admit I was not, I used the word lust, but it was in a broader context of talking about the importance of ensuring that you are, the words I was using was you should be lusting after your spouse, meaning more in line with you should be build a passionate desire where you're
a longing, a desire, adoring.
Yeah. Like something where when you're not with them, the back of your mind is thinking about them and drawn towards them. And right.
Well, we were talking about too, being at different sexual levels, how your drive is higher and mine isn't. But I think I even said it too, because of course my desire is to be at the same level. I want to, and I said lust after you. But what I meant and what we mean by that is that I want to have that same passion and desire that Dino has for me. Because the word lust, when used in the context of the Bible. Yeah.
I actually went through. This was actually a really, really good question because it made me get all all right, I'm going to go do a study on this. So I went and studied the word lust throughout the Bible, and it is definitively always used in a negative way, always biblically. So do not lust. That is, especially when you're using the word in the most biblical definition. But what that definition is unbridled, outside the context of marriage, uncontrolled passion. That's what lust is.
Right. So we were using it within the context of marriage, but it shouldn't be used in that way.
Correct. Yeah. So I will do my best to refrain from using that specific word.
And this is why we say, listen, we're not doctors here. We're just speaking from our own experience. But and this woman that wrote us was super sweet about it. She actually just wanted to know because she had never heard it used in that way.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a great question. So we love the questions for sure.
But the premise of the question they were asking is, hey, I have always seen it or been told that or witnessed it in the church that I need to suppress my sexual desires. She was
in agreement with what I had spoken about, how I had talked with another friend years ago, and she had said, I grew up in the church that said, sex is bad, sex is bad, sex is bad. Yeah. Then you get married and you're all of a sudden supposed to be into having sex. And it's very confusing. And it's really hard when the church is saying, no, 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 but you should be doing that. So just to kind of go back and you revisit this, which we kind of already touched on, but just to touch on it one more time, I firmly believe that you should have
Christians should be having the best sex. Christian couples should be having the most depth of closeness and
Absolutely.
physical.
It's made for us.
Yeah, it's ours. It's ours. And I want to be reclaiming it. And actually it was funny.
Oh, you're going to piss a lot of people off.
Well, I
love it.
I was talking with Ty, and I was telling him, Ash and I did a podcast and we recorded it on sex. And I was like, my goal, my desire would be if I put the podcast out and I instigate more Christian couples to be getting down, that would be the best, Because,
because it's not just about getting down. That
agreed,
does create a
It is
level,
the cherry on top,
right.
And you have to have the foundation of all the other things healthy to get.
But
to
that's
that
why
point.
it's so good, because you have this foundation and all this like meat and goodness, and because of that, you get then that deeper depth of intimacy that we love using that word. Yes. And then because of that, then that overflows into a closeness outside of your sex life too.
Yep.
So again, it's that upward spiral of just good.
Yep. But somebody actually asked in our Q&A, like how a couple other questions around sex. And one of them was, we have teenage kids in the house. How do you best go about kind of like mitigating that?
Yeah.
Or how do we cultivate our sex life and maintain it while also ensuring that the kids are kind of not hearing or something?
Yeah. I mean, you could answer this question for all ages of children, like there's excuses, but there's having kids in the house, it kind of creates a barrier in itself. You have littles, they are close to you all the time, or they're coming in your room.
Yeah.
You have teenagers, they can know and hear everything. It's a challenge. It's going to look different for everybody depending on your kids' ages, what your house is like. We are very fortunate. We just installed double door. I recommend that for everybody. If you don't have one, make a hallway outside of your door and then put another door.
Doors, yeah.
Just make a little box.
Yeah, just magically make it happen.
No, but it's just setting, it goes into all the things that we've kind of already talked about, just setting the priority of what is the priority in your family. We have the priority of God first, and then each other, and then the kids. So that means that we set schedules, we set boundaries, hey, tonight it's like mom and dad time. We are closing the doors. We're done here, or go watch a movie in there. Please, nobody come out. Just even be specific. They don't need to know. We always say we're on a call. So
Mom and I,
we're lying to the kids.
Yeah, we lie.
We're on a call with each other.
They are very much getting to the point now where they know. We
don't say we're on a call anymore, but we did.
They know.
Oh, we're on a very important
call. We have a conference call. Do not come to the door. Do not come to the door. You can knock. Don't knock on the door. But no, like we've always kind of ensured that the kids don't get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, especially for the last 8 years, it's you and I have been really intentional about making sure we stay physically close,
Yeah. And
I
it's
think,
gotten more and more that we have made more dedicated time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's again, if you need to make time during the day, sometimes that can be fun and spontaneous. And during a lunch break when the kids are at school, it doesn't have to be at night, or when you wake up early in the morning,
Yeah.
That's
There's
what we call a rolly.
Just dropping bombs on the podcast.
Listen, I'm feeling spicy today.
It's so good. So good.
But seriously though.
No, I just want to encourage more people to have this be an important aspect of their marriage. You have to do the prerequisite work to get there, or else if I'm not working hard and serving you.
You're going to say, if I'm not working hard for the money. Weren't you?
I was.
You I saw your. Every once in a while, Dino will joke about that, and he'll be like, "Oh, come on, right now." And,
come on, listen, I'm working hard for the money.
I'm working hard for the money. Okay.
People are going to know all of our little isms. I'm not going to be able to talk in code anymore.
There's no code.
No, the code's totally decrypted.
Yeah.
If that's an important aspect in a marriage, which it definitely should be, and it is, and for a guy, it's even more important just because there's a fire burning inside of us that is just, you can't quench it. So you have two options: either suppress that junk so that you reduce your overall sexuality, or you have an outlet, which is your spouse, or you make stupid decisions, which you shouldn't obviously not be doing.
It's like, I don't want you to be suppressed. It's not quite fair.
It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good.
It's not good.
It's not good. I mean, it's really, really not good. And honestly,
I know.
there's so many
because
guys.
I don't want that to overflow into anything else. I don't even want there to be an option of anything else, And not that you would, obviously, but we're not above reproach. Like
No.
Is it reproach or approach?
Reproach.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah. But no, like it's the same. Like, you don't want me hungry, right? You don't want me running around being like starving. And
you don't want me hungry.
I'm just kidding. No, I really, really don't want you hungry.
Ain't nobody want Ashley hungry.
And I keep you well fed, right? I work hard for the money, all right? But no, especially over the last few years, the last 7-8 years, you've really built up this amazing empathy. And I wish you would share more with the women on because there's so many of my buddies that I talk to that are like, yeah, I get what I get, and I'm like, are you satisfied? Would you have more? And they're almost exclusively, every guy's like, yeah, I would happily enjoy more in my marriage.
But you and I have talked about this. It's yes. It's
I know we have to caveat it.
Layered.
I know we have to caveat it. And that's unfortunate because an ideal scenario is a husband is first and foremost putting his wife at the top of the list. Yeah. And that means that I put you before myself, including my own sexual desires, including, I take care of you and everything that you need before myself. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. That is my responsibility. That is my calling. That's what the standard under which I'm supposed to be living my life. And if I do that, then ideally it's a lot easier for you. But that's impossible. You know what I'm saying? But if that's what I'm striving for.
Yeah. Me pursuing you shouldn't be dependent on your behavior towards me.
Correct.
Either. It goes both ways.
Yep. But it makes it a lot easier. And it fulfills it's
the way that it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I need to be filled up by you to feel intimate with you and to feel close with you and vulnerable with you. If I can trust you, then I can be naked with you. Yep. And that's all.
And here's a crazy one. Guys, if you are not serving your wife, you're effectively you're just looking to them to get sexual gratification. What you're really doing is objectifying your girl. You're using her as an object for your own sexual gratification. That is never going to end well. And what's amazing on this is if you do the studies on this, when it comes to dopamine, everybody, I'm going to go nuts on this. I know, I love it. But if there's no effort, no. Oh. But if there's no... People rag on me because they hate that I love this pseudoscience stuff. But it's real. This is legit. We are.
It's real.
It's real.
You don't have to convince us. We're good.
No, I know. And I've witnessed this in myself. If I go and engage with you sexually, but there's no effort associated with it, meaning I haven't been sacrificial. I haven't been putting you first. I haven't worked hard for the money. Then it's actually not the enjoyment, the satisfaction, the gratification is not there. Yeah. And chemically, it's not good because I basically have objectified you and used you as a sexual outlet to be
create a bond with me.
No. Yeah. And that's what's awesome. That's what that depth of intimacy is that we always talk about.
What did I just read to you today too? About the thing that I read, the commentary that it was about the point of sex and how the Bible was saying, I was reading Genesis. Mm-hmm. Was that it? Yeah, Genesis. And it was said that he knew her.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that was interesting. So I read the commentary on it. And that's what the Bible uses as a term for having sex with somebody. Yeah. But I loved how they broke it down and because that was God's intention for it, was through sex to know the person intimately and to become one together and bond them together. Yep. And I was like, yes, that's it.
Yeah. So what we were actually talking about this morning, I'm glad you brought this up, is there's a twofold on that. Number one is the importance of ensuring that sex is in marriage and only in marriage. And you don't mess with it before because you know someone. That's what the Bible talks about. And he knew her. And what that ultimately is trying to communicate is there is a bond that takes place at that moment. And we witness it chemically. When we have sex, chemical releases take place that create a chemical bond between you and I that make me bonded to you forever.
Yeah.
And the Bible even talks about how you should guard yourself in this area to ensure that you don't get spiritually bound basically to someone who isn't your wife. But then so that's the don't, but then the do, what's meant for good out of the sex inside the context of marriage is you and I get to bond. I get to feel emotionally and like physically connected to you as if you are me.
Yeah.
And that causes me to act and think completely differently as a man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I'm not going to speak for you, but for me as a man, it makes me much more soft and tender. I'm very selfish by nature. I'm also very like action and like focused on doing things, you know, but it
breaks down walls.
Yeah. It makes me emotionally vulnerable with you. It makes me bonded to you mentally.
It's a trust thing.
Yeah. And especially if I've been, to go back to the like working hard for the money thing, if I've been working really hard and I've been investing in you, then I value you so much. And then that sexual connection we have, it just fully
seals it.
It just locks it in, you know?
I love that.
So
another question. Oh, what?
No, I'm just saying youths in the house, kids in the house, whatever. Who cares? Who cares? You should be bonding with your spouse. Figure it out.
Our kids know that we have sex.
They know.
The boys for sure.
Absolutely.
And
they're like,
I'm like,
I
care. Love your dad. Yeah. Absolutely. They don't need to hear us or watch us or be a part of it, but they know it's happening. And it's like, all right. Yeah.
So I really hope that
I love that they see a healthy sex life.
The tone that you and I set and what they witness with us is stuff that they'll go and model with their own spouses going forward.
Because we talk with them about that stuff anyways, you know? Yeah. And how important it is to save yourself for marriage and why. And
I'm walking through this with the boys right now.
And then look at what you get, you know, look at how beautiful this is, you know?
Exactly. I've told them, I'm like, listen, your mom's the only girl I've ever been with. I was a virgin when we got married, and that is the way that I very, very strongly recommend this with you. You will destroy yourself if you do not do that because of all of these reasons. And then I get to talk to them about what sex is and what it does and how it works and the dangers of messing with this stuff before it's the right time. And then the beauty and the amazing aspect of it once you are inside a marriage. And the really cool thing with them right now is they're working on just in general, like self-control of being able to, because it's such a fire that they're all of a sudden, and it gets out of control and they're like, you know, and I'm like,
you obviously, you know, came into our marriage that way, but I know you counsel a bunch of guys that have not done that or, you know, both male and female, but you counsel men specifically. Yeah. Yep. So what kind of advice are you giving to them, or what challenges do you see? And then what kind of advice?
So
kind of advice are you giving them?
Yeah. So what the challenges I'm seeing, the majority of them are the consequences of bad decisions that were made previously. They bring expectations then into the marriage and they say, hey, this is what I had before. Why is it not this way? Right. Or they think about, hey, it's hard for me to get as sexually satisfied because I've witnessed or been part of a whole bunch of other things, right? So we've already talked about this as well, but once you get married, the goal is you are the definition of beauty. So I don't go and look at what other butts are. Your butt is my butt. You know what I'm saying?
That's solid.
I know you. I don't necessarily have this isn't a hard one. All right, to be fair, you got a great rear end on you. You know what I'm saying? Just don't mess with this stuff. But then after you're married, if that has been something, when you cut yourself, you get a scar, you know, and that scar will be there forever. And there's aspects of those screw-ups, those sexual relationships that men and women will have had that will carry on. And there's nothing you can do about those things aside from beg God to create healing and allow you and your husband to move on. I do think time is a huge one. You know, time between you and I, we've been married 18 years now. It's like there's so much more over here in comparison to what the previous that's taken place that this is very insignificant.
But for like a newlywed, or let's say they're like 3 years in and they're dealing with stuff like this.
So the one that I've been working with one of the guys is like, you have to be aware of the fact that before you were married, when you were in the dating world, the modality under which you functioned was, what do I like? What do I like? Oh, I like that. That's interesting. Oh, that girl's kind of cute. This is right. It's very like assessment. What is in my interest and that kind of thing. But then once you get married, you have to stop that modality. Yeah. Right. You can't think that way and look that way anymore. And a lot of guys kind of forget that it's no longer, oh, what am I interested in? You have to retrain your brain into, that's not the way I think anymore. The only way that I think is you are the definition of beauty. And I now need to go to extreme lengths to ensure that I guard myself against any kind of thinking outside of that. Yeah. Meaning high walls is the biggest one. Man, oh man, high walls. High walls means get things in place to ensure you are not going and being tempted or going and getting involved with those types of things.
Again, none of us are above reproach.
Nope. I don't. I've said this many, many times. I know the areas that get me into trouble. I go nowhere near those things, you know? And that's just I want to make sure I qualify this. That is purely from the perspective of the smallest spark that might set my brain off. I'm not talking about like, oh, I'm not going to go look at pornography. I'm just saying I don't go to a place that gives me an opportunity for my eye to start to wander. I don't go and spend time in an area that I shouldn't be spending by myself. You don't go to the gym and like help like another female. No. Yeah, exactly. I'm very, very cautious and I'm guards up all the time because for me,
Which is smart on both sides, male and female.
It absolutely is. Yeah. But for me, the way that I look at this is that I want to be protective of my sexual drive for you. Mm-hmm. And when I allow the outlet to go in any other way, even for the smallest of sparks, the smallest of things, the wandering of an eye or assessing if something is, oh, look at that, look over here, that dilutes this. Right. Yeah. And I want to ensure that this is the only thing that I'm ever really excited about is you. That's it. Hard stop. Right. So that's a big one for men as well, is just to switch your mentality. It's hard. And most men don't even realize that, wait, I'm still operating. I've been married for 15 or 20 years or whatever. And I'm still operating under this as if I was like 20 years old or something like that. You know, I never want to have a conversation with another man ever and be like, oh, hey, did you see that? You see that girl? Yeah. Like that should never happen. And if that guy has that type of conversation with me, I'm like, no, we're done here. Yeah. I'm not engaged. I will never engage with that, Mm-hmm. And just to beat a dead horse here, it was funny. I remember I was at work and one of my coworkers was making fun of me for not watching Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. Or I had told them I was watching it, but I had found somebody who had added like an edited version where everything was out of it. And they're like, what? That's the best part. Like, what are you talking about, man? You're not cheating. I watch it with my wife or my girlfriend or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, and I left at the time and I was like, oh yeah. I didn't have an answer. I just was like, but I've chewed on that moment for so many years. And the answer to that challenge of like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you do that? Is exactly what I just said. I only want to ever allow myself to be excited in any way, shape, or form by you. Yeah. I don't want to ever see any of those things because it dilutes what's best. So
and that's something again that we also share with the kids because we try to have them we have boundaries with like TV and shows and things like that. Yeah. But especially as like boys have gotten older, they definitely have more freedom. And we're trying to teach them that we're not going to monitor you every second of your life. You're getting older. Yep. As soon as you hit 18, you're out in the world doing your own thing. And we want to equip you to make wise decisions. We don't even watch that stuff. Like if something has content in it that we will shut it off or we'll fast forward or whatever. And so it's a really good practice too. And it like we want to lead by example and it's convicting too to not only do that for the reasons you're saying, but also thinking about our kids and how we want them to handle those things. Yeah.
If you ask the question of like, what am I telling these men? I tell them, listen, you need to guard that junk as much as you can. And it is 100% if you're struggling with like the motivation behind that, it is selfish gain. It is only going to better you. God has something better than what you think that you want.
Yeah.
And it is so much better. And you and I talk about this depth of intimacy, right? And what that ultimately is there's no barriers. It's to know you. The two shall become one, and there is no barrier between you and I.
Yeah.
And when there's been an emotional affair, which happens all the time, or there's been me into some sort of visual lust type thing that I'm not communicating with you about, that is a barrier. And it obstructs our ability to really be close.
Yeah.
Because we're hiding something. I'm holding something back from you to be really intimate, like really deeply close with somebody. There is nothing. There's nothing between you and I.
And then that overflows into how we do life together. Somebody asked us how we, how could we get through the hurricanes together and stay so close and so bonded?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because we stay close intimately, and we stay close. So we don't have any barriers in between us at all. So we can go through those hard times.
Yeah.
And we can go through them together. And it's not like we're not connected.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Even during the hurricanes, I remember I was like, baby, this is going to be really freaking hard.
We need to stay tight.
And I said, I will crush it all day long. I just want to make sure, like, at the end of the day, it's just you and me. And like, I can come back to you and you'll just like, I need to hold you. I need to be close with you. I need to have sex with you. I can't have it where I'm just like grinding all day and then not being able to maintain that closeness with you,
Yeah.
And it like, you always keep me well fed, but even during the worst, hardest times for me, I was well fed, and holy crap, I'm a monster though. When I'm fed and I'm taken care of, I'm strong.
Well, same. I can get up and go because you're feeding me in the way that I need to be fed too.
Yeah. And to the marriages out there, like, just think that through all the way, think about the fact that if I feed my husband, who would he become? He didn't have any other need for any other outlet. What would our marriage look like if I just fully fed my husband in this way?
It was the same thing we were talking about on the last episode, not only sexually fed, but we should be pouring into our spouse, creating the best possible version, the hype man, pumping each other up, encouraging each other, pushing each other towards their walk with the Lord, forward with their walk with the Lord. Like all those things are only going to grow us together.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. No, I totally agree. With the kids, it should not be a concern, and don't let it stop you. Get creative. Yeah, get creative.
Again, it's going to depend on your house and the age of your kids, but whatever you need to do to, say, go to bed, we're going to bed early tonight, or go watch a movie, or doing it during lunchtime.
This is not a problem. You and I lived in a trailer together with no door.
But the kids were younger.
All right. Then we lived here, and and the whole house was under construction, and the kids slept in that one room, and you and I would fool around
in the family
room under a blanket later on.
That stressed me out.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, we've just never.
I mean, it is just like also like fun, and that's what it should be. Again, like God made this for us. Like, why we should be having fun? Go in a closet. I don't know.
Yeah, like you and I still act as if like I'm just like a crazy teenager, and I just want you all the time.
Yeah. One thing is like I just thinking about. Don't wait until a future date or another time to be. Working on that connection or just the general connection in your marriage. Now is the time right now. It is never going to be easier when the kids are a little bit older, or it's the same the whole way. And we're doing the same work, but just in different ways now than that we were doing at the very beginning. Yeah. Don't waste time. Don't miss a day. And that was something that we spoke about an email that we got. And that was one of the things that they said is they been married for 22 years, made this shift in their marriage, and they were like mourning the lost time together. Yeah.
Like, why did we waste so much time?
I feel like that with the first 8 years of our marriage. I'm like, why we were missed out. Like, I feel upset that, and I've thought that about other things in my life about like really surrendering my will and living after what God wants. Yeah. There's so many things I think about that I missed out on that God could have used me for or in that I'm like, oh, dang it. Well, I mean, thankful for right now, obviously. And you don't want to live in regret and in the past, but don't wait. Today is the day.
Yeah.
You know?
I have prioritized the areas that I know that you need from me.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, even the word intentional, like, let's break that down.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Intentionality and priority are like kind of going hand in hand in that you are my priority. Therefore, if you're my priority, I need to put intent into that, meaning I'm going to put effort into it. You know, I'm going to prioritize. I'm going to put you before the other things that I need to make sure I take care of. And
put the phone down.
Yeah. And I'm going to die to my own flesh. The things that I want to go do are not the things I'm going to go do.
Yeah.
I'm good. I know the things that you need from me. Cooking food for you is probably on the top of that list, you know, and I'm going to make sure you're well fed. It's a bit of a mentality and a philosophical perspective that you're like, hey, I'm no longer going to just do the Dino show. Yeah. I'm not going to just do this for me anymore. I'm going to shoot for the goal, which is I really want to be really close with you. And I want to feed you as much as I can in every possible way so that your needs are handled and then you desire to have a stronger relationship with the Lord. Yeah. And you then want to become more like Christ.
Don't you kind of just like, haven't you kind of fallen in love with serving?
Absolutely.
I feel like I have in the last maybe 2 years or so fallen more in love with serving you in the ways that I know that you.
Absolutely. No, I love it. I have to admit though, that is only by God's grace.
100%.
I have been changed only by him.
Yeah.
There is no part of me that would have been able to change into a person that
I honestly think that's why I am this way now, because I was trying to do it on my own.
Yeah. Which is funny. I mean, like even our kids, I'm working with one of my boys and I'm like, hey, you have to go about it this way and you have to rely on the Lord. You can't just go and like muscle through this. And the boy just continues to muscle through. And he's like, oh, I tried so hard and then I fell down. And then he comes to me the other day and he's like, Dad, I got into a hard spot. I didn't know how to handle it. And I just gave up and told God, like, you have to be the one who does this for me. I'm not going to fight anymore. And I was like, you figured it out, boy. Like you figured it out. This is not for us to fight.
Yeah.
But submission of your own to your own flesh and submitting yourself to God and saying, hey, I cannot do this. I'm incapable of doing this. I'm incapable of serving you in a truly like selfless way. When doing it on my own, all I end up doing is feeling frustrated and striving. And I might get a little bit of, progress, but then it's faked and I fall down.
Yeah.
It's only when I go before God and I'm like, I want to work hard. I want you to change my heart. I want to serve and put my wife first. I need you to give me that heart and that desire. And then I want you to show me the fruit and the joy out of that. And then God's like, let's go.
Yeah.
But it requires us to submit.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Because people talk, they want things and they talk all the talks, but it's really hard. I mean, we know that.
Yeah. I know that
things.
from me. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. But then I don't submit.
I know.
I know what I'm supposed to do. I say what I'm supposed to do, but I don't do it.
I know.
I don't submit my own flesh over to God and be like, well, because I know I'm supposed to do this and I'm telling everybody I am, but I'm really not.
Yeah.
It's
a little bit harder. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I got it.
I like this other thing a little bit better.
Yeah.
So it's only when we're actually like, when we submit ourselves and we're like, hey, I'm incapable of doing this. I need you to give me the heart for this. And I'm going to start in my own free will, I submit my free will and I will start taking steps towards this path, hoping that you are the one who is fueling me up in doing this. Yeah. And then there's a reward, then you get progress.
So good. Yeah. I love it. It's fire. And now we have to eat food because you said fed and hungry. Probably 50 times. Now mama's hungry.
The first 40 minutes of the podcast, we're talking about other things. I'm hungry, okay?
All right, we gotta go. We gotta go take her.
We got mouths to feed here. All right, that was a fun podcast.
See you guys next week.
Have a good one.